YouTube has its bright corners, the educators, the entertainers, and the creators who build communities around joy. But there are also darker corners, where performance and obsession becomes more sinister. In October 2021, the internet's attention shifted from comedy sketches to a double killing that left two families shattered. At the center of it all was Ali Abilabin, better known online as JinnKid, a San Diego influencer whose rise to minor fame was undone by a crime both shocking and brutal. Ali's story began far from the glamour of social media. He met Anna in 2014, both serving in the Air Force, stationed in Okinawa, Japan. After leaving the military, Ali pursued content creation, experimenting on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. By 2019, under the name JinnKid, he had found a modest audience. His impressions of Scarface's Tony Montana, Tekashi 6ix9ine, and video game characters earned him millions of views and a dedicated following. On camera, he was charismatic, but off camera, the cracks were widening. Anna, often appearing in his videos or filming from behind the camera, became more than just a partner. She was part of the brand, but by 2021, her presence online was no longer a prop for his content. She began building her own audience, drawing attention independent of her husband. For Ali, it was intolerable. Friends later described his behavior as jealous, narcissistic, and abusive. The documentary evidence shows live-streamed arguments, recordings where he scolded Anna, and social posts filled with accusations of infidelity. He turned private conflict into a public spectacle, seemingly unable to separate performance from reality. His drug use worsened things. He regularly used cocaine, sometimes even snorting lines while broadcasting live. Anna endured emotional and physical abuse, caught in a cycle familiar to many victims of domestic violence. By mid-2021, she had reached her breaking point. She ended the marriage, but for the sake of their daughter, Amira, she agreed to remain in the apartment they once shared, while Ali left. But Ali was not ready to let go. On the morning of October 21st, 2021, after Anna took their daughter to school, Ali used an electronic key to break into the apartment. He vandalized the unit, scattering belongings and destroying what he could. Before leaving, he installed an app on his daughter's iPad, a surveillance tool that allowed him to listen in on Anna's conversations remotely. Hours later, Anna returned home, calling a friend to say the apartment had been trashed. She suspected Ali immediately. In that call, later featured in court, she claimed that she planned to seek a restraining order. She arranged for a friend to pick up her daughter from school, wanting to clean the apartment before Amira saw the chaos. Then she called another friend, Rayburn Barron, to come over and help. Barron had been a source of suspicion for Ali long before that day. A passing compliment he once made about Anna's beauty fueled Ali's paranoia. Hearing his voice in the apartment through the spying app, Ali snapped. He rushed to the Spire San Diego luxury apartment tower, and what followed was recorded, not by surveillance cameras, but by Ali himself. Audio pulled from his phone later played in court reveals that Ali broke into the 35th floor unit and opened fire. Both Anna and Barron were shot on the couch. By the time police arrived, they were dead. Ali fled, but within 5 hours, he was under arrest. The confession came quickly. He admitted to killing them both, telling investigators it had been an explosion of rage. At a preliminary hearing in January 2022, when a detective testified that Anna and Barron's relationship might have become romantic, Ali erupted in court. His anger turned on the judge, shouting, "You think I wanted this for my 5-year-old daughter? Who the fuck are you? My life is destroyed." For Anna's friends and family, the outburst exposed what they had long suspected, that Ali's grief was rooted less in remorse for his victims than in the collapse of his own world. The trial that followed pieced together a picture of obsession, recordings of domestic fights, messages where he accused Anna of betrayal, videos where he mocked her, and evidence of escalating violence, painted a portrait of a man who saw his wife as property, not a partner. Experts in the documentary noted how his fame online only magnified these tendencies. Social media attention only fueled his ego, solidifying the belief that he was entitled to control Anna's life, as he controlled his content. Even after the killings, his fixation on image remained. In an interview with a local news station, Ali claimed that social media messed with his brain, making him violent and aggressive. He even framed his greatest loss not as his family, but as his career. He spoke of losing his quote-unquote baby, his platform, and his following. Incredibly, a video surfaced later of a phone call Ali made from custody, posted on YouTube on his behalf. In it, he told his fans he was doing okay for the most part, apologized for not being able to create more content. When the verdict finally came, Ali was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree killing. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive 25-year-to-life terms. For Anna's friends and Baron's family, the conviction was justice but not healing. 2 lives had been cut short, one a mother, the other a loyal friend. A child was left without her mother, and without her father as well. And for viewers who once laughed at JinnKid's sketches, the case became a reminder of the blurred line between persona and reality. Online, Ali had played the role of the charismatic comedian, a man chasing internet fame. Offline, he spiraled into jealousy, abuse, and ultimately killing. On the neon-lit streets of Las Vegas, few things surprised the crowd gathered at the Bellagio fountains. But on June 8, 2024, a livestream turned deadly when 2 familiar faces from the small but fierce Vegas YouTube scene collided in violence. The man at the center of the tragedy was Manuel Manny Ruiz, better known online as City Manny. Known for his bold, often confrontational Vegas-centric streams, Manny had carved out a cult following by walking the strip with a camera in hand, inciting conflict, and building his brand on the unpredictability of the city. His channel was raw, loud, and brash, the type of content that thrived on attention, even if it meant controversy. On that Sunday night, hundreds of viewers tuned in expecting another chaotic broadcast. Instead, they witnessed a feud turned fatal. According to clips that quickly went viral before being scrubbed from YouTube, Manny was seen outside the Bellagio Hotel and Casino, involved in a heated argument with another couple. Within moments, that confrontation escalated. Witnesses say Manny drew a handgun and fired multiple rounds at Rodney or Finny the Legend Finley and his wife Tanisha or Bubbly Finley. The stream ended immediately, but not before viewers heard screams and saw violence erupted at one of the city's most iconic landmarks. Social media was flooded with re-uploads of the footage, and within hours, speculation became confirmation that both Rodney and Tanisha Finley were dead. Contrary to public opinion, the tragedy wasn't random. Manny and Finley were no strangers to one another. Both were part of Las Vegas's local content creator community, frequently crossing paths online. While Manny's style leaned toward provocation, Finley built his channel around high-energy nightlife streams. It was a rivalry that had been building for months, with both creators trading jabs and live streams, mocking one another in broadcast, and fueling a digital conflict that entertained audiences while deepening real-world animosity. Other streamers would later tell police that the feud stretched back at least a year, escalating from insults to threats. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department quickly confirmed the details. Detectives reviewed the footage from Finley's own livestream, which captured the fatal encounter. Contrary to Manny's later claims, the video allegedly showed him advancing on Finley while firing, not retreating or defending himself. No weapons were recovered from either Rodney or Tanisha, undermining Manny's account that he believed they were armed. Manny turned himself in not long after. In statements to investigators, he insisted he had acted in self-defense. He claimed Rodney reached for a gun, and that Tanisha held what appeared to be a shiny black object. But the evidence told a very different story. Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson dismissed Manny's explanation outright, saying, "I think it's probably garbage. There's no indication from any of the evidence at all that self-defense would be a viable defense." For Manny, his channel, once filled with late-night casino walks and confrontational showdowns, was terminated by YouTube for violating community guidelines. Overnight, City Manny was no longer a streamer, but a criminal defendant facing the weight of a double-killing case. Manny appeared in court telling the judge, "I'm innocent," but the livestream evidence, the lack of weapons on the victims, and the long-documented feud said otherwise. Prosecutors emphasized that this was not a random act of violence, Rather, it was the culmination of a bitter rivalry that crossed the line from entertainment into bloodshed. For the small but passionate circle of Las Vegas content creators, the killings were a wake-up call. Rivalries and online callouts had always been a part of the scene, but no one imagined they could turn into such a tragedy. The feud between Manny and Finlay had provided endless content for fans and viewers, but the consequences revealed how easily digital conflict can bleed into the real world. It is a sobering reminder that behind every livestream and every feud, there are real people, and sometimes the cost of performance is far too high. In August 2023, on the island of Koh Phan Nan, Thailand, a young Spanish YouTube chef, Daniel Sancho Broncalo, stood accused of killing Colombian plastic surgeon Edwin Arteaga. It all started as a vacation as one of Southeast Asia's most famous party islands, but ended in a gruesome killing that drew international attention. For Daniel Sancho, son of two actors and part of a celebrated Spanish family, the island was meant to be a backdrop for leisure and content creation. For Edwin Arteaga, it was a destination holiday with the man he had come to know. On August 4th, Thai authorities were alerted after sanitation workers found a sack at a dump site. Inside was a sawed-off pelvis and intestines weighing 5 kilograms. The gruesome discovery triggered a police investigation that quickly uncovered more body parts scattered across the island and at sea. Shortly after, Daniel reported his friend Edwin missing. That call, however, raised suspicion. Police already had evidence linking Daniel to the crime, and soon he was detained for questioning. From the beginning, investigators claimed Daniel had confessed to the killing. According to police statements to the press, he admitted he planned the killing after feeling threatened that Edwin might reveal a sexual relationship between them, something Daniel's defense has consistently denied. Officers also presented surveillance footage showing Daniel purchasing items from a convenience store, including a knife, rubber gloves, garbage bags, and cleaning solutions. For prosecutors, it was proof of premeditation. For the defense, it was circumstantial, part of a larger fight that spun out of control. In court, Daniel pleaded not guilty to premeditated killing. He told a different story. According to him, Edwin attempted to sexually assault him during their stay. A struggle followed, and in the chaos, Edwin fell, striking his head on a bathtub. Daniel claimed he lost consciousness and died shortly after. But while insisting the death was accidental, Daniel admitted to dismembering the body and disposing of it. He acknowledged buying supplies to hide the evidence, and later scattering remains across land and sea. For that act of concealing and destroying a body, he received an additional sentence of 2 months in prison, reduced from 4 months for cooperating. He was also convicted of destroying another person's documents, such as Edwin's passport, earning a separate 2-year term. In his closing statement, Daniel spoke directly to the court. "I am sorry that a life has been lost and that parents have lost a son," he said. "I am sorry that his family was not able to bury him properly. I'm sorry for what I did after the death." The court reached its verdict in August 2024. Daniel Sancho was found guilty of premeditated killing. Initially sentenced to death, his punishment was commuted to life in prison because of his cooperation during the trial. The court also ordered him to pay more than 4.2 million baht, which is about $125,000, in compensation to Edwin's family. For the family of Edwin, the ruling brought some measure of justice but no closure. Their son, brother, and colleague had been killed in a brutal manner far from home, and his remains never received a proper burial. In Spain, the case consumed the headlines for months. Not only was Daniel a YouTuber with his own following, but he was also the son of a household name in television and film. While Daniel sentences life imprisonment, the story may not be over. Under a treaty between Thailand and Spain, he may apply in the future to be transferred to a Spanish prison. Such transfers are not automatic and typically take years, but the possibility offers a faint hope for his family. His father, Rodolfo Sancho, vowed after the verdict to keep fighting. At the end of the day, the case of Daniel Sancho Broncalo is about a life lost and another life permanently altered. Edwin Arrieta traveled to Thailand for leisure, but never returned. His death, brutal and public, became international news. Daniel, once a rising content creator and chef, now faces the reality of spending decades perhaps the rest of his life, in a prison cell far from home. Still in the dark corridors of YouTube, we come across one of the most disturbing tragedies ever to unfold live online. It is that of Stanislav Reeflay, a 30-year-old Russian streamer, better known to his audience as Stas Reeflay. In December 2020, Reeflay's girlfriend, Valentina Grigorieva, died during one of his live streams. The broadcast, which played out in real time, showed not only her final moments, but also the chilling aftermath, leaving dozens of viewers to watch in shock as the line between content and cruelty disappeared. The stream began like so many others in the growing Russian subculture of trash streaming. This genre had become notorious for its willingness to push boundaries, staging humiliations, violence, and stunts purely for donations. For Reeflay, it was a way to earn quick money, but for Valentina, it turned into a death sentence. Reports later confirmed that Reeflay had been paid the equivalent of around 1,000 euros by a viewer to abuse his girlfriend live on air. During the broadcast, Valentina, just 28 years old, and reportedly in the early stages of pregnancy, was forced out onto the balcony of their rented home in a village near Moscow. She was dressed only under underwear and outside, where temperatures had plunged below freezing. At first, the stream continued almost casually, as if the cruelty was part of the performance. Viewers donated, comments flew across the chat, and Reeflay carried on with the broadcast. But as time passed, Valentina stopped making noise. She stopped moving, and yet the camera stayed on. Eventually, Reeflay pulled her body back inside. The footage shows him laying her limp figure down on the sofa, her skin pale, her body unresponsive. At this moment, the tone shifted, though the camera never turned away. "Valia, are you alive?" he asked. "My bunny, what's up with you?" Valia, damn. You look like you are dead. Bunny, come on, tell me something. I'm worrying. Damn, I don't feel her heartbeat." Even as panic set in, Reeflay did not shut down the stream. Instead, he continued to speak to his audience. "Guys, no pulse, she's pale. She is not breathing." For minutes that stretched into eternity, the stream displayed Valentina's lifeless body as Reeflay stumbled between disbelief and denial. By the time paramedics arrived, the cameras were still rolling. Viewers watched as medics entered the apartment, attempted to revive her, and then pronounced her dead. The spectacle had transformed into a horror show, broadcast live to thousands. The official autopsy later revealed that Valentina had suffered more than hypothermia. She had sustained traumatic brain injury, cerebral hemorrhage, and multiple bruises. Authorities concluded she had been beaten before being forced onto the balcony. Clips from earlier in the stream confirmed the violence. One showed Reeflay pepper spraying Valentina as she screamed on the sofa. In another, he grabbed her face with both hands, forcing her onto the ground and violently shaking her head. Other videos surfaced of him shoving her, and even allowing a friend to smash a plate of food over her head during a previous broadcast. The abuse was not a one-off. It was part of a cycle that audiences had been complicit in funding and encouraging. After her death, police arrested Reeflay. He was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter by the Rumensky City Court and sentenced to 6 years in a maximum security prison colony. Prosecutors argued that he had not only caused Valentina's death, but had done so for profit, treating her suffering as performance. The global reaction was immediate and horrified. Footage of the stream spread across social media, despite efforts by platforms like YouTube and TikTok to remove it. A YouTube spokesperson said, "We're shocked to learn of this tragic incident. This kind of graphic content is not acceptable on YouTube." But by the time statements were issued, the damage had been done. Thousands had already seen Valentina's final moments. In Russia, the case sparked calls for new laws targeting trash streaming. Lawmakers proposed penalties of up to 6 years in prison for creators who broadcast abusive or degrading content. The tragedy of Valentina Grigorieva is not just a story of one abusive man and one vulnerable woman. It is one of an ecosystem, an audience that paid to see her humiliated, a platform culture that allowed abuse to become entertainment, and a world where suffering could be packaged into livestream content. In the aftermath, nothing could undo what had been seen. Valentina's body, her suffering, and her death had been turned into consumable content. The chilling broadcast served as both evidence in court and a reminder of just how dangerous the pursuit of digital fame can become when there are no boundaries. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you learned something, make sure to leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on any of the YouTube killers I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2 or more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.